The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Thank you for joining us here on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the mobile app brought to you by Happy State Bank. Let's talk a little Rust, shall we? So, one of the things from the first iteration of the playoff, like we talked about there at 6:05, was it was a very quick conversation because you were trying to just focus on winning games and you weren't even sure, you have to take care of business. Felt good that you were going to have a spot in the playoffs. Just how good, who knows, but you still also had to go win a Big 12 championship. And so these weren't like hard and fast conversations, but every once in a while this would pop up. It's like, hey, do you actually want the bye? Because not a lot of people, but some people were drawing off of, but look at those bye teams last year.
Yeah.
They were horrible. But then you actually look at the matchups and again how the seeding happened. Everybody that was coming into their game that didn't have a bye was a favorite.
Yeah, I started to say it wasn't. You can't hang that one on the bye. Those teams. And they didn't play well. I mean, bye or no bye, they just didn't play well. And I can't remember. I wish I could, but I can't remember which coach said it. But one of the ones on the bye, and it may have been Joey, but they said they had a simulated game. Mm-hmm. And I think that's smart. I think what coaches try to do is stay as close to that routine as you possibly can. They all had a bye week during the season. And so I would imagine whatever they did during that bye week, they tried to simulate and just expand it since it was a 2-week bye. But I think it's all in your head. I think you've got to get your players to realize, hey, you've got an advantage. It's an advantage to have a bye, and you're better now than you were 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I think that messes more like with our minds.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
Than what it does certainly with the coaching staff and with the players. I don't think that, and I think for the coaches, like they're telling you, Coach McGuire, like we want a bye, and you can start with your quarterback trying to get him as healthy as possible. And man, he has looked so much better with the mobility. When you go just from the bookends of BYU Game 1 to BYU in the Big 12 Championship, the, no pun intended, strides he took with his leg, that it's like, well, boy, how much better will it look if you get a few weeks off and you can prepare, but you're not having to worry about dealing with contact and just everything that goes with playing the game of football and playing a real contest. But I was thinking with that, though, this will be a good case study. Here's our first real case study of it, because I do think you have the 4 best teams this year with a bye, and you're looking at Georgia, who's already beaten Ole Miss. Now, I'll say this, the Rebels in that regular season game had them in a hole in the fourth quarter, and then Georgia outscored them 17-0 in that game. And that's the only time this year you had to see Gunnar Stockton go in Superman mode for his team. I guess he could have done it against Alabama, but he didn't. So he had 2 shots, did it once, didn't really the other time. So we know that they can beat them, right? Yep. We know that Indiana can beat just about anybody in the country, and Alabama has had some woes. I think we'll get to this in a second. Your matchup is the closest, and I think they're all close, but I think yours is the toughest. And then you go down to Ohio State, and you question Miami's offense. So with that, this will be a good case study if that rust actually affects those teams. Because if for some reason, in some weird world, if all 4 got swept, I'd be like, okay, absolutely, it does have an effect. It will be in my mind forever. But, I mean, are you going to be surprised if, just from the competition level, if the bye teams go 2-2?
No.
In any combination?
No, I'm not going to be surprised at all, simply because of the matchups. And I tell you something, that you talk about a bye and you talk about getting healthy and stuff. One thing that's being overlooked to me, Coach McGuire and his staff, you think back over the year, our games, our 12 games or 13 games, we were prepared.
Yes.
You give these guys another 2 weeks to prepare for one team, one game, that they know who they're playing. I'm telling you, our staff, and I'm sure every one of them are just as good. I don't think so, but if you give those professional coaches that much time to watch that much tape to prepare, you're going to see some things that you haven't seen before, offensively and defensively. And if we haven't seen them, Oregon hadn't seen them. So it works for the other side too. But I just think that if you give Joey McGuire and those guys enough time to prepare for a team like that, they're going to be at the top of their game. And to me, it's going to be tough for any team to come in, like for Alabama to come in and beat Indiana, and they've been sitting there preparing for 2 weeks. That's going to be hard. Any team but there's something to be said about playing and not, sitting. And but I like our chances. I really, really like our chances. I think like you just said, I think the 4 best teams are in there, and I'm not going to be a bit surprised if the 4 best don't take the next step. But 2-2 probably wouldn't be out of line.
Yeah, I do think the field of 8, I think it's close. But I think there's a notch there. And so I would still view it as an upset on if any of them, if any 5 through 8 won their game. And it feels like the odds, like someone would, but we'll get to find out here in 6 days.
Yep. It's here.
It's here. When we come back, it's time for This Day in Sports History. We will send it over to Jeff McGuire. It is the Morning Drive on Double T 97.3.
This is the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is December 26th. You got the Morning Drive on Double T 97.3. Time for This Day in Sports History. Here's Jeff McGuire.
You're going to start us off in 1919 because the Yankees and the Boston Red Sox reached an agreement to move future Baseball Hall of Fame pitching slugger Babe Ruth to New York.
And no, I wasn't there, Jeff.
I didn't think you were. Chuck was there. You weren't there. No. Craig, you're so young at heart.
Yes.
I would never criticize you that way.
Keep your thoughts positive like that.
1943 National Football League Championship at Wrigley Field in Chicago. Chicago Bears beat the Washington Redskins 41-21. It's the Bears' 6th title.
Even growing up, for me, like watching the NFL in the 90s, there was just like this couple of teams that still shared. Like you had Miami, you had Oakland, where they were sharing the football field / baseball field. But not once have I thought about it for a championship setting. If we did that today, that would be hilarious because everyone would just be mad. For no reason. It would still be an NFL championship.
1960 National Football League Championship at Franklin Field in Philadelphia. Philadelphia Eagles beat the Green Bay Packers 17-13. It is the lone playoff defeat for Packers coach Vince Lombardi before the Packers established their dynasty.
That's pretty noteworthy.
That was his bulletin board game.
Yep. And Dynasty
That was his Tebow speech. We'll never see another team play as hard as the Green Bay Packers.
Fast forward to 1991. Future Pro Football Hall of Fame coach Chuck Noll retires as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He started in 1969. He retired in 1991.
The Steelers, they're
They
very
hire their
limited
guy.
coach. Yeah, and they've been good at it.
Yeah.
They've been good at we're not sticking with a guy who's just winning 3 games a year, but they have been very good.
Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher.
Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin.
That is the list.
Since 1960-something.
There are teams that have had 3 coaches in 5 years. They've had 3
or during the year.
They have had 3 coaches since 1969.
That's amazing. And, 4 Super Bowls?
Yeah, but they also had Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you want to credit everything. On this day, 2004, former Red Raider Zach Thomas has 9 solo tackles and assists on 9 more, with 3 of them being for a loss in a Dolphins 10-7 win over the Browns.
Go, Zach.
It's like he was a Hall of Famer or something, and people just forgot. Who knew? Gentlemen, happy National Candy Cane Day.
All right.
Thank you. Are you guys candy cane fans?
Yes.
I like free ones.
Yes.
Yeah. There's no such thing as a bad candy cane. I can tell you that.
Sure, but I'm not going out to buy candy cane.
I don't know. I think Wally World is trying to challenge you there, Craig, because they have just so many flavors that do not sound good to me.
Yeah. I saw...
pushing the culinary world in the candy cane land a little too far.
I did see a bad combination of something the other day, before yesterday. Cucumber and lime.
Ooh, you know what? I like.
No, don't tell me that.
I like the Gatorade flavor.
That's what it was. Yeah.
It's not like at the top of the list, but every once in a while, I'll dabble.
Before we get to today's birthdays, we got a really good one coming up on Sunday. So when you see baseball assistant coach Eric Gutierrez on Sunday, wish him a happy birthday, turning 32 on Sunday.
Oh my gosh.
Today, Jared Leto is 54, Chris Daughtry 46, John Walsh turns 80, Ozzie Smith 71, and Carlton Fisk is almost his number. He's 78 today.
Big fan of Leto's music. Leto the actor sometimes says things that are just interesting decisions in the acting world. Interesting decisions. And then Chris Daughtry, finished 4th on American Idol?
Uh-huh.
And then surpassed everybody on that season in fame.
I would put Chris Daughtry as the 4th best person out of Idol with regards to actually having a music career.
7:15, we rank the American Idol contestants post-show.
Trivia question, who won that year?
Couldn't even tell you.
It wasn't Chris.
Enough said.
Yeah. Was that the opera singer? No, because they had one year where it was you got done with them and they're like, well, they're not going to be a pop star. They're going to be over there doing actual professional singing that way. Anyhow, 1946 in this day in history.
Taylor Hicks.
There you go.
Who won?
Country singer, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The voice of the Southeastern Conference song for a long time. To tie it back to sports.
Got it. Nah, we don't want to do that here.
Yeah.
1946, mobster Bugsy Siegel opens up the glitzy Flamingo Hotel in the Las Vegas, Nevada on this day in 1946, basically starting what would become Vegas as we know it today. The grand opening of the Flamingo Hotel, however, while it was vastly glitz and glam with comedians and performers all day long, was a flop. Bad weather kept many other than Hollywood guests from arriving, and because gamblers had no rooms at the hotel, they took their winnings and gambled somewhere else. The casino lost $300,000 in the first week of operation.
Gamblers had no room at the inn.
But they've made up for it since.
I've heard some rumors, yes. And that is this day in sports history.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Not enough Mugsies and Bugsies running around these days. Need that style of name to come back. Maybe we can change
Mugsies and Bugsies.
Jamie's name to Bugsy. You think he would let us?
Yeah.
You see a little Bugsy with a rat tail.
Only on this show could you hear Mugsy and Bugsy on the day after Christmas.
they get to celebrate too.
Yeah.
Bullfighter had this. That missing piece in Detroit is a Ben Johnson offensive coordinator that makes the offense hum. Campbell does an all right job, but between injuries and an OC, this Lions team is bad. I do think Ben Johnson is a huge missing piece. And the Bears obviously are benefiting right now.
Yeah. And, yes, well said, because Ben Johnson apparently brought something to that offense that they're lacking right now.
Yeah, sometimes you get that future head coach. Like, everyone is interested in this coordinator. He doesn't always leave, and Ben Johnson took a little bit to, I wouldn't even say peel him away. I think he was waiting for the right spot of what he believed he could achieve something. I think he was looking at the Bears, and then he was looking specifically at the quarterback spot over there going, they're not getting enough out of Caleb Williams, and I can.
He knew what he wanted quarterback-wise is to fit his little offensive brain, and that because the year before he had 2 or 3 chances, and that was well planned on his part, and it's turning to a good plan for the Bears.
And sometimes, though, you get that coordinator that everybody that has an opening is interested in, and sometimes it still doesn't work out. Right? It's tricky, and it's hard to be in a profession where you have one of 32 jobs to for sure say, yep, I'm going to find success. And you're almost never taking over the team that just made a playoff run, right?
And
but he's so far.
And if you're a coordinator like that, those jobs don't come around real often. Yeah. And so you gotta weigh that pretty heavy. If I don't take this one, am I ever going to get another chance to be a head job? Yeah. So and
so far, early sign. If you're a fan of Dub Bears, you're pretty stoked with what you got.
Yep. No doubt.
It is the Morning Drive on Double T 97.3, hour number 2, coming up next.
This is the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is the Morning Drive on Double T 97.3. Thank you for joining us. Clint Scott, Craig Wells, Jeff McGuire behind the glass, taking care of us. Hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line with whatever you got. Let's get a thought from head coach Joey McGuire. Let's start, as it is 6 days away now, the Orange Bowl. He told us what Oregon does that challenges them.
They're very physical up front. They've got multiple defensive tackles, but the guys that really jump off tape are 1 in 52, extremely physical. We've got to do a good job of, taking care of the down linemen, and then the other thing that they're really impressive, they got 3 running backs that play at such a high level. 2 are true freshmen. If they're, they're home run hitters, they're very explosive. I mean, we saw that Saturday in the JMU game. I mean, you look up and they've already scored 30-plus points. I think they had 5 touchdowns on 5 drives, so they're really explosive. So, we've got to do a good job of, making them drive the field. I think if there's one team you said, what are they like? A little bit different at quarterback, even though he's a dual threat. I mean, he's pretty special throwing the football. Moore is, but Utah, as far as their physicality on defense, they've got really good length at corner and the secondary. So I'd say a little bit like Utah.
I think it's funny that he said Utah there because that's been the topic back and forth. If you're a talking head, a national guy, or an Oregon fan, right, and you're saying, boy, Texas Tech, you're going to lose this game because you haven't seen a team like us. You haven't seen a team like the Ducks. And I do think that this is the best team that you will have seen at this point in the season. But the other side of it is they have not seen a pass rush like you. They haven't seen, to me, they haven't seen as complete of a defense. I think Indiana's defense is really good, but I think you're a little bit better at a couple of things. And by the way, in that game that they saw that, what happened? They lost. Yeah. So it's not like you should be bragging about like, oh, we've seen a defense like you. It's like, okay, you lost by 10 points at home. But I think what is a comparable team? And I like the Utah comparison because to me, it's starting with the trenches. And he talked about the interior defensive linemen there. But you also have, to me, a comparison if you're flipping it, if you're talking about your pass rush, who are they going up against? I don't think Oregon fans build up their offensive line enough, because that is a great interior guard, center guard. Your center and your right guard there are the ones getting All-American nods, and then the left tackle, Isaiah World, really good, massive, like second-round grade. Right tackle getting like 6th, 7th round grades for the NFL. That's where they're going to win or lose this game, and you have seen an offensive line like it. And as good as I think that offensive line is, I think Utah is right there. And I think if you flip it, looking at Utah's defensive line, I think that's where the best comparison of those teams have been. And you dominated those teams, or that team, in the trenches.
No doubt. And to me, first of all, throw away the James Madison game. If you watched Oregon and James Madison to see what Oregon, don't even think that that's who Oregon is. Because they didn't show things that they're going to show against us. They probably had a vanilla game plan. Dante Moore is a good quarterback, and where he gets yards is actually not a design run as much as, okay, they're covered, I'm taking off. I don't think he's going to be able to do that against Tech and our defense. We have done a great job of keeping our lanes and making sure that our linebackers can become the players that they are. And our linebackers have done a great job of dropping for passes and then recovering and getting quarterbacks for losses. I agree with you. I think on both sides, I think our offensive line and their offensive line is going to be the determining factor. Mm-hmm. If we give Baron Morton time to throw, if we give Cam Dickey and Jacoby Williams holes to run in, we're going to be very successful offensively.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing with them. They've got some team speed. I mean, they've got some they've got some breakaway threats, and we can't let them get to the second level, and we've done such a good job of that. But, this is just kind of a side note. One of the great things that I heard from Joey McGuire, and I wish everybody would do it, when somebody said, well, who are their good players? He goes, 1 in 52. I wish everybody would just say, boy, that number 7 is good, not – Tom Smith, you remember him, don't you? No, number 1, and to me it's a reference because you watch games and you remember a play, you remember number 11 did that. You don't necessarily remember his name, and I think it's just something that I enjoy when Joey does that. He goes 152. They're pretty good.
All right, so Bear Alexander and Amari Washington, very good there in the interior for the Ducks.
Yep.
I am interested because I think something Gus and I have talked about, and Rob and I have talked about on Red Raider Recon, is how comparable these two teams are. They're offensively, they're 1 with 91 explosive plays. You're 2 with 90 explosive plays offensively, and then defensively, you're both tied at 4th with only 33 20-plus yard plays. And so you have a lot of similar goals. Now, you do it in a little bit different way, but I think something that is, for Dan Lanning and for Joey McGuire, as much as we talk about Dante Moore, as much as we talk about Baron Morton, and not just us, but when you get to the broadcast, those probably going to be the first couple of names that come out of their mouths, unless they're talking about Jacob Rodriguez. But offensively, for both sides, those are going to be probably the first 2 names you hear, right?
Yep.
To me, it doesn't really matter on either side if you can't stop the opposing running back group, because you've got, I think across the board, you've got the best 2 running back rooms left of the field going up against each other.
As a team, as a whole, as a group,
yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree. And that's why, to me, the offensive lines are going to be so important. And I always like to look at the coaches, and one of the key things that I think is Dan Lanning has a defensive background. Joey McGuire's got a defensive background. And look at two of the best defensive teams in the country. Probably Georgia fits in there someplace, but those two defenses, they're going to be stout. And you're going to have to do something offensively that you probably haven't done a whole lot in the year. You're going to have to make some sustained drives. You're not going to have I think the big play, it could be a difference maker if you have one, but you can't turn the ball over. You can't go 40 yards and then turn the ball over because you don't know how many times you're going to get it back. And their defenses, both sides are good. Ours being outstanding, theirs being very good.
There's a couple of, what's going to give between what these two teams do well, and our offense gets big plays.
Yep.
We're going to still try to get big plays. Oh, but that defense stops big plays.
Yep.
Who can because I'm with you. It's more of sustained drives in this than it is. I think it's more about the defenses than it is the offenses in this one, especially for you because that's what your DNA has been. And really the offense sometimes has felt like an afterthought, and they've had a great year, right, as a unit. And you've done some really nice things, and you've been explosive. And that's why you're top 10, just like they are. You're a little bit better. Top 10 in both offense and defense. To me, it starts on the defensive side, and if you can find some explosive plays, absolutely, that could be like a tide turning sort of thing. But I'm with you. How good are you on third down in this game? Tell me that. And
your defense needs to give you a couple of short field opportunities. Yeah, if you got those and you capitalize on them, you got a leg up in this game.
It is the Morning Drive on Double T 97.3. Question of the day next.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3, presented today by someone not named Jamie, is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. As we approach the end of the year, you're going to get the opportunity to have any kind of list that you want. We're going to have the best, the worst.
It twice?
Yeah. You are. You already have.
Okay.
But I don't know whether you were naughty or nice. That's up to somebody else. But you did check your list.
All right. Choice.
Not including Texas Tech. We're going to take them out of the picture. Best player in the Big 12. Not including Texas Tech. Best player in the Big 12.
Jordan Tyson. He dealt with a little bit of injuries. Unfortunately, we saw just how good and effective he is. I think he is a lock, maybe not to be an NFL star, but he's a lock to be a first rounder.
Yeah.
He's a lock to get every opportunity to be a star on wherever he goes. And I think at worst he'll be a productive NFL receiver if he stays healthy. I think that you could say that just about anybody. You could say that about anybody that was going in the draft that never had a single injury through high school and college. Yeah. If you could stay healthy. But Jordan Tyson is the most talented player in the conference to me. So I think he would be my easy pick.
I'm right there with you. Mr. McGuire?
I'm trying to think, who else would even be on this list? And I'm not, breaking down every roster. There's an offensive tackle in this league somewhere that is just phenomenal.
The guy from Utah is probably the highest ranked one.
But, it's not flashy. And that doesn't mean that you can't be good, but...
If I was doing a short list, Jordan Tyson... David Bailey.
David Bailey's on deck. That's the other cat.
I know. You said that's why I'm just going through a short list if I'm involving everybody.
Yeah.
Those would be the first two names that I said. Because there's a bunch of productive guys. Like you said, Fano from Utah.
Yep.
I think that would be the short list, I would say, for the three most just talented players in the Big 12.
Yeah,
Jacob Rodriguez.
I'm going to surprise you with one that I thought about.
Okay.
Sawyer Robertson.
Yes. I
don't think
he was in a weird situation.
I don't think he's great, but I think he should be on a short list for some of the best in the Big 12.
If he was in that weird situation where you were rooting for him, or at least I think most of us were rooting for him, clearly not rooting for the success of Baylor, and you almost got the perfect situation of that because he was very, very, very productive, but it wasn't always perfect over there, but he put up a bunch of big numbers. I'm curious what his year would have looked like if he was on a team that had a defense.
Yep.
If he was on a team that had a defense, and then to me, if he had a little more consistent running game. Now, it's weird when you look at Baylor because you have Pendergrass who's lost for the season, but I don't think just that. And he was the second option there, but still, you figured he was going to get some looks and get a healthy dose of carry still. But that shouldn't have just completely derailed everything. Yeah,
they had some missing parts, no doubt. And like I said, Sawyer's not Heisman Trophy candidate good, but I just thought he had a good year considering, like you just went through and talked about that. But all right, question number 2.
Ooh, rapid fire.
Rapid fire. The best team that Tech did not play in the Big 12. We did not play Arizona.
Yeah.
We did not play Iowa State. We did not play TCU.
Arizona. Yeah. I think it's Arizona. You know what's funny, when BYU was having to pull out an overtime win against Arizona, we were all sitting back like, you're not that good, BYU. And then it turns out Arizona just had a little bit of a rough start there in the conference. And I think Brent Brennan, you can count me in this, quieted some naysayers. But what I'm thinking is quieting some naysayers over in Tucson, who whenever Jed Fish is a late hire over at Washington, and that whole scenario is weird, and they were already down in the count in the coaching hiring cycle of probably missing out on some candidates that they would have been interested in just from when that hire and leaving, and that trickle effect that started with Nick Saban happening. Like there were so many that were already ready to get rid of him mid-season last year. But I also think Noah Fafita his resurgence has helped them a lot.
Yep. He over-delivered.
Any different,
Jeff? Best team we did
initially
not play.
When you they didn't end up that way. And that's the thing that has me Arizona's the better answer. For if you're just looking at standings and breaking it down that way. But when you without diving into it.
I hope you're going to say the same one I did. I think we're on the same track here, I think.
Because their end of this season, they fell off the cliff. And that's Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I gained a ton of respect for Cincinnati this year, but I was interested to see if they were going to make the Big 12 championship game. I mean, they were in that conversation late in the season, and I don't know who was better. Now I don't. They could have played. I don't know. I'm not.
Arizona beat Cincinnati.
But that's just where I'm rolling right. That was my initial answer was Cincinnati.
Tell me when you saw Cincinnati, because Scott Satterfield, the first half of the season has been really good, and then they lost a running back. It's like the same thing I was saying about Baylor. It should not have derailed them. They fell apart, and I think you saw their lack of depth. That's where I give it more to Arizona. Their lack of depth showed up, and they just like they did last year, but in a little bit. I don't know. It wasn't quite as bad as last year, but still, you just lose your last 4.
Talk about lack of depth and injury. Iowa State, I would not have wanted to play had they been the Iowa State that they were coming into the season. I just thought they were a good team. Not great, but
I
just
wanted
a
every
good,
piece of
solid
Iowa
team.
State this year.
Yeah.
I wanted every piece and make cake out of it. I was not a.
Yeah.
I try not to be like they would have sort of guy, but they would have scored 3 points against you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Started the right way. The Morning Drive on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is the Morning Drive, hour number 3 here in Double T 97.3. Thank you for joining us. Clint Scott, Craig Wells, Jeff McGuire behind the glass taking care of us. Keep hitting us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line, just like this thought from Colo Raider. Merry Christmas, guys. I didn't expect to hear you guys on the radio this morning. Well, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you.
Let's just jump right back into this. A washed-up guy had that thought on Kyle Whittingham in Utah and the private equity deal. And I was leading into this, so there was the Utah alum that's a lawyer that was looking at the contract and got the public records and all of that and was scouring through the deal. And for him, now this is just also just one person,
Right.
but still I thought his
An educated point of view.
Yeah, far more educated than me, which isn't hard to do, but still. And his main worry, because I think when we think of private equity, is that whatever that they dip into, whether it's a conference, whether it's the sport itself, or in this case, a single program, that they're going to have their claws in so deep that they're going to have control of everything they do. Oh, you want to start that quarterback? Nope, we don't like it. We like the flashier kid over there. Oh, you want to hire that guy as a coach? Not going to work for us. Stuff like that.
Right.
And the way that it works out is they do have, a board of decision makers, and you have 2 guys from that private equity company. And then you have more, though, from Utah that are on that board. So they still have thought this through when it comes to decisions for things like that. Yes, that private equity voice, they're going to have a couple things to say, right?
Right.
They will have an opinion, but they will be overruled if more of the university side disagrees with it. And that's even if there are major disagreements. And for them, where their control is hey, we're setting ticket prices, we're setting concession stand prices, we're setting things like that. But they also are the ones now in charge of taking care of the facilities, taking care of the stadium. And this is where the big plus is for them, for Utah. So they can focus their revenue share, specifically all of that money going into the athletes, into their staff, into things like that. And they don't have to take care of as many of the outside things. Well, where his worry was, is you look at this 7-year deal, Craig, you have that 2030, 2031 range circled, and it's been circled there for a while. That's when TV deals that have been signed and have been, we talked about 2 years ago, where a lot of those are ending. And
Right.
that's where a lot of people have circled that Super League conversation, that different version of whatever college football could look like, from the conference to whatever the TV shadows are saying and wanting this to look like. His worry was, okay, Utah is doing this because they're banking on that happening, and they're trying to be invited, and they're trying to make sure that they're competitive with facilities and that they have financial backing so that they will be looked at as a legit team and a legit program, and will for sure be in that circle. And his worry was, what if that doesn't happen?
Yep. It's a great worry because it's entirely possible. Look at Oregon State and Washington State. Mm-hmm. Their teams decide to go someplace, and look where they are. Mm-hmm. Financially, they're struggling right now. They don't have the conference schedule. But you're exactly right, or he is. You get to the point where they start taking the top 64, the top 72, the top 60, whatever that number is. If you're not in that, your opportunities to maximize revenue have just changed. Mm-hmm. Because you're not going to be able to schedule like you've scheduled in the past. And I saw where the governor of Louisiana, who has kind of stuck his foot into the athletic field lately, he's talking about what Cody Campbell is talking about. Is you got to consider taking all the media rights and pooling them together like the NFL does, and then you're much more valuable as a group, as college football as a group, and therefore the schools can maximize that revenue. If that happens and you're one of those that didn't make it into that pool, financially, then how do you pay back the investment
right,
firm?
Because if they say we're out after that 7 year, and then now you're also not getting any sort of excess money because things have gone up and you're in that elite of the elite, or it doesn't happen, so there's not the opportunity to get that sort of money. Well, all of a sudden, if you're Utah, that's where the gamble is, because then you could just fall flat on your face. Things are great for 7 years. And then you're ruined, and then you're in a hole forever.
And the way I understand the Big 12, and they're dabbling into the private equity situation, is they're going to make funds available if you so choose to go that route. If you need this or you need that, and you choose to go that route, they're going to be but you do not have to participate just because you're a member of the Big 12. And I think that's healthy because there may be a school down in the bottom that really needs some help, but they've got the opportunity to make enough to pay them back. But it's going to be interesting to see how all this financially shakes out, because there's a lot of people sitting in business offices right now that are a lot smarter than I am that still don't have all the answers.
That's a roundabout way of me saying I don't think that's why Kyle Whittingham stepped down now, because I don't think it would have affected anything that he was having to do. If anything, at least for this part of his career, it helps him. But that's just me. I don't think that's why.
Well, think of Kyle Whittingham. One, you're going to go to a place that supposedly is right up there with anybody as far as revenue and as far as your ability to compete financially. Two, brand new challenge. How long has he been at Utah? I mean, forever.
2 decades.
And an opportunity, a new league, new kids, a new recruiting staff, a whole new staff he can put together. So I would not be surprised if it doesn't end up being Kyle Whittingham, and I'm not surprised that he's staying in, and this is a great opportunity for him to stay in.
Now, it was reported Whittingham's candidacy is expected to be shared with top Michigan officials today, so that's where they're at. But if you're Michigan, again, that's to go through everything that they have looked through at this stage in the hiring cycle, where there's been a bunch of job openings and about a bunch of great job openings. Boy, you could do a lot worse.
It'd be a good get.
It'd be a lot worse.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.